Geno Smith said it was like playing an away game at times on Sunday in Seattle. Green Bay, Dallas, Tampa Bay, and even New York are all saying the same things about their home stadiums. And we're here to tell you why exactly that might be happening. Rob Manfred, commissioner of Major League Baseball, has all of a sudden given a deadline to the Tampa Bay Rays to find a new possible permanent home for their baseball team. And Anthony Richardson was benched. Caleb Williams all of a sudden looks like a bust. But is this the most surprising thing that has happened in the NFL so far this season? We're going to talk about that and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man so old he doesn't need a mask on Halloween to make himself look scary, my dad Tim.
I was thinking you might go Dracula this year.
Nah, let's just go with scary looking.
Wow, that was accurate but cold.
Yeah, but accurate nonetheless.
So, speaking of Halloween,
Yeah.
we've got Eddie back.
Yeah.
Well, our version of Eddie. Not the Iron Maiden Eddie that everybody knows.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They've got I think it's Iron Maiden that's got a giant, creepy guy they call Eddie. But you hate Halloween.
With a passion. Yeah.
Visceral hatred. Even when you were a kid, you wouldn't go out trick-or-treating.
No, I can't stand Halloween.
Explain.
It's what... There's a lot to it. One, it's your fault.
Why is it my fault?
You let me watch it when I was 5.
I did not. Your cousin let you watch it, not me.
Okay, there's debate. You guys
No.
go back and forth. Somebody let me watch it.
Yeah, at her house with go juice, which I thought was apple juice, but was really Mountain Dew.
Yeah, which explains
A lot.
I don't mind spooky. I don't. Spooky is fine.
Suspense.
I don't like, I didn't like suspense when I was a kid. Here's my big thing, right? So trick-or-treating is meant for...
Little kids.
It's meant for little kids. Little kids go from house to house to collect candy, and yet people decide to turn their yards into scenes from the Vietnam War. Just pure gore and blood and guts.
We never did that.
And you expect little kids to come up to your house. You know little kids are going to be walking around in your neighborhood, and yet you've decided to turn your house into an episode of
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Yeah, whatever. I don't know what I was trying to say there.
We had 969 kids one year because we did a haunted house, a kind of a graveyard scene. Nothing spooky, but it was kind of cool.
Jump scares, whatever. I don't like them. I don't like to be scared. That's another big thing. I hate being scared. Who likes being scared?
Not me.
It's who wants to walk around a corner and worry if somebody's coming out to scare you. And I hate haunted houses.
See, I don't hate haunted houses.
I love carving pumpkins. I love seeing, I have a really good friend of mine who they carved out little foam pumpkins to make a pumpkin arch and had some RIP things in their yard, some skeletons. I like that stuff. Where I go to church, they do this big skeleton thing, and it's cool looking. I don't mind that stuff. But again, people have made Halloween now about themselves and about adults. And it started when I was a kid.
It did.
And it's just, again, I don't want to walk around my neighborhood for 2 weeks and see people's idea of what a fun decoration is. That's the other thing, too. Like, live in a neighborhood with kids. A lot of people do. And for 2 weeks, they have to go to school looking at somebody's house which is covered in blood and guts. And you think that's acceptable. And that's obnoxious. It's annoying. Like, have your 18-plus Halloween parties, do whatever you want, watch horror movies in your own house. I don't care. I just don't like that people decorate their houses in disgusting ways, and that's just socially acceptable.
Okay, all emails should go directly to him, not me.
I don't know how people can disagree with me on this. People do.
They do vehemently.
People definitely do. But, like, people make masks for Halloween that kids wear that are bloodied face and just disgusting.
You know what I wore for Halloween? Your grandmother made me a costume one year. It was a cheetah costume. Really cool. 1 year I was Green Lantern because you would go to the store and you'd buy these little boxes. All the costumes came in boxes, and they were the thin, they'll burn in a second costumes
Yeah.
with a plastic mask on.
Sure.
That was Halloween.
Right. Yeah, people dress up as
Or
clowns
hobo.
before they were destroyed,
Or hobos.
or hobos, or superheroes, or their favorite football team.
Mhm.
You know, it was stuff like that. It was maybe a werewolf or a vampire, but nothing crazy. A witch.
I was Ron Santo 1 year.
Yeah, see, stuff. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. But stuff like that, right?
Ron
And now
Santo
it's-
wearing number 11, by the way, because I thought that was his number.
Well,
Don't
then you
don't
weren't
ask me
Ron
why.
Santo.
It said Santo on the back. I screwed it up.
Completely failed.
Okay.
But yeah, it's stuff like that. And people take it way too far. People think this is okay for kids to see. People think this is okay for me to see. Like, I don't want to see this stuff. I don't watch that stuff in my house. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous that I have to go out with my kids and see just a horror scene in your yard. And I avoid it. My kids hate it. I almost got into a fight, not this year, but last year, with a guy who's wearing a Michael Myers mask. And he's walking one way, we're walking another. And he stops and turns. And all of a sudden, I see my youngest son starting to freak out. I turn around. This guy's staring at my kid. I said, you got 3 seconds to walk away before I put you on the ground. Like, what are you doing? And he stares at me. And I'm not even kidding. I looked at him. I said, go for it. And then he turned around and walked away. Like, I shouldn't have to start a fight with somebody on Halloween night when my kids are going trick-or-treating because a guy who thinks it's funny to stare at my children and freak them out. He was 7 years old. My son was 7 years old.
I know.
And this guy thinks it's acceptable. Halloween is the worst holiday of the year. It sucks because it's my favorite time of year. Like, the leaves are changing. It's cooling off. Fall is absolutely beautiful.
Speaking of,
People ruin it. So I'm excited for Halloween to be over.
well, it will be shortly. So a couple things. I came over last night so we could prep for the show.
Yeah. Oh, is this you not speaking well?
I'll get to that in a minute. But I came over. I couldn't park in the driveway because you've had major construction going on.
Yeah. Looks good.
New driveway,
Yep.
a new tree,
New
which
tree.
you needed to have
New tree.
because the other tree,
You
died.
decided the couch in my house was unacceptable.
it was.
we have a couch we got when we first moved in. Nice blue sectional. The dogs destroyed it. Absolutely
It
destroyed
never
it.
was a nice sectional because no sectional is
cheap.
nice.
I'm cheap.
I hate sectionals.
So thank you. He decided I needed new furniture. I refused to pay for it. And so he bought new furniture for my living room. Thank you very much.
Okay. Then while I was there, I came over to, have a nice night and to go over stuff.
Yeah.
I made the mistake. I always say I couldn't care less.
You don't always say
But-
that.
In my mind, I say I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But I said I could care less,
Yeah,
which is
that's-
obviously wrong. You jumped all over me.
I didn't jump all over you. I simply
yes, you
corrected you.
Your wife came to my rescue. Leave him alone. So-
You said that happened. I love your exaggeration here.
Never.
You said, I could care less. And all I did was I said, couldn't. And you looked at me like I stabbed you in the heart.
You pretty much did.
Like, what?
Now,
I couldn't care less.
because of that, and you were right. It is.
Yes.
I
For
couldn't
those of you,
care.
because everybody says it wrong. You're
Everybody
not
says it
alone.
wrong.
And it used to be a big pet peeve, but I let it go because so many people say it wrong.
Well,
Couldn't. If you could care less, then you would actually care less about something. You couldn't care less.
It means you
is the
just
correct-
don't.
You don't.
You don't care. You don't give
Right.
an S, whatever. Okay, so I thought for quick funsies,
Okay.
I bring up a few other ones.
Okay.
You've got another thing coming. No, you've got another think coming. I've heard that.
Another think coming doesn't make sense. You got another
Yes,
thing coming.
It's another. Well, what it should be is you've got another thought coming because you said something wrong. The reaction is you got another think coming.
I've always thought it was another thing coming because they're like,
No.
if you don't change that, I'm gonna punch you in the
There's
face.
another think
All
coming.
right.
Statue of limitations. No.
Nobody says statute of limitations.
Yes, they do.
Nobody says statute
are
of
in-
limitations.
Where do we live?
Wisconsin.
They say statue.
Wisconsin people aren't stupid.
No, they're not, but they just talk weird.
That
It's
do.
statute.
yeah,
Of
statute.
limitations.
I didn't know anybody ever said statute of limitations.
This one I heard about 2 weeks ago, and I laughed very hard.
Okay.
with all intensive purposes.
Yeah, people say that wrong all the time.
It's with all intents and purposes.
Not intensive. Although intensive purposes could work. I mean, if we're being
depending
fair.
on what you're talking about.
Well, that's not the phrase.
Hey, that's a mute point. That's wrong. It's a
wrong.
moot point.
That was one I got corrected on when I was in my 20s. A client of mine corrected me on that, and I've never said it wrong since. I never knew that. I never knew. It is moot point, M-O-O-T.
Anybody who watched Andy Griffith should never get this one wrong. Nip it in the butt. That's got to be a UP thing. It's nip it in the bud.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know. That's another one I didn't know until I was in high school. I got corrected on that. It's bud, flower, nip it in the bud.
Coming down the pipe. That's wrong. It's coming down the pike.
No.
Like a turnpike.
What about a skateboarding reference?
It's still wrong. Here's a good one.
In skateboarding.
This wasn't on the list, but this is a good one.
Sure.
I'll be your
Huckleberry. It's not Huckleberry.
It's Huckleberry.
It's not. That's not what he says in the movie.
It may be not, but the actual term is I'll be your Huckleberry.
People aren't quoting the actual term. They're quoting the movie. I'll be your Huckleberry. It is a delicious berry only found in the wild of Montana.
It's I'll be your Huckleberry because that's what the handles on a coffin are.
Yeah, I get it.
They're getting ready for a gunfight. I'll be your Huckleberry means you're going to go in a coffin. I'll carry you to your grave.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
He was wrong.
And that is now the phrase.
By the way, this has been a fight in our house since 1993 when that movie came out.
Well, not since 1993, because if you let me watch
you were about
Tombstone when I was... See? Let me watch Tombstone when I'm 3. Let me watch it when I'm 5.
I did not let you watch it. When you got old enough to watch it. And
great movie.
Great.
Unbelievable movie. I got a friend of mine to actually... I'm very careful on movies I recommend to people.
Sure.
Because like people recommended Scarface to me and said it's a great movie, and it's one of the worst movies ever made.
Well, you don't like gangster movies.
I wasn't even a fan of Goodfellas, to be honest, but
I don't mind some.
I understand. I watch Goodfellas, not my style, but I get why people like that movie. I don't understand why people like Scarface. Like that movie is just terrible. But I'm very conscious on how I recommend movies because it might be my taste, not yours. Recommended Tombstone to a friend of mine, and you can recommend that to anybody. And it's a great, great movie.
It's like recommending Top Gun to any guy.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy it.
Yes.
Recommended it to a female colleague of mine once. Don't do that. Wasn't as big of a fan.
Because girls don't get things. They
have different tastes in movies. It's okay. We're different. Men and women, as hard as it is to believe, we're different.
You, your brother, and I were banned from watching movies when you were in high school or junior high, whenever it was, because your mom got so PO'd because we're literally quoting the movie to each other as it's going on.
Yes. Yeah, couldn't watch Top Gun, couldn't watch Tombstone, couldn't watch Shawshank Redemption. There was a lot of movies on that list we couldn't watch because she got annoyed with it. It's like, learn the movie. You can do it with us.
She was beyond. It was way past. I think conniption was entering into
It was coming in. There's a lot of things that people say wrong. I didn't realize they said wrong. I didn't realize people said statute of limitations. That's a new one to me.
That's a Uper thing. And this is a Wisconsin thing, totally not bubbler, because that is a Wisconsin thing.
It is bubbler.
It is bubbler.
And Massachusetts.
And
Australia.
Australia.
Also says bubbler.
I was going to say New Zealand, but it's Australia.
New Zealand might too.
I don't know. But it is a bubbler because the initial water fountains, water bubbled up. Here's another one. And the final one, just for the record. It is not a stoplight. It's a stop and go light.
It's a stoplight.
It is a stop and go light.
It is a stoplight.
No, not in Wisconsin. It's a stop and go light.
For older people in Wisconsin.
For everyone.
No.
Because that's what it does. You not only stop there, you get to go.
You know what's funny what you say in Wisconsin? Because of the internet, local dialects are actually starting to go away.
I can believe
There's been a lot of studies on that. Bubbler is still a big one in Wisconsin. Everybody calls it bubbler, but like certain ways people talk and
like
accents.
Saying the word bag, or in Wisconsin, they're bag.
But those certain accents of local culture, certain ways they speak, are starting to disappear. Because in the internet, you just hear people talk however they talk, and so it was an interesting study done.
They used to do that.
It is stoplight. It is definitely stoplight.
Stop and go light.
I've never said stop and go light. It's like couple 2 or 3. That's another Wisconsin one.
That's a Wisconsin thing.
Couple 2 or 3. I'm gonna go to the bar, have a couple 2 or 3. What? I've never understood that phrase. I didn't realize it was a thing until I moved away from Wisconsin
And you
then
actually went
came
to
back. And I was like, when did people start saying this?
Forever.
Never knew Wisconsin had an accent until I moved away and then moved back.
One of the strongest accents in the world. I mean, you have to. I've tried to get rid of it back from when I was on the radio.
Yeah.
And you really have to focus on vowels,
Yes.
saying them correctly.
Correct.
A-E-I-O-U.
Yep.
Because otherwise, and it's so easy to slip back into it. What I never understood was sports announcers used to call it Wisconsin.
Yes.
Brent Musburger was big on that. We're going to see a game in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
There's no A in the word.
No. But it's like Oregon. It's not pronounced Oregon. It's pronounced Oregon. Even though there's an O, it's pronounced Oregon.
R-I-O, and for the entire world, is pronounced Rio. In Wisconsin, it's Rio.
It is Rio.
And
well, it's like there's a town called
R-L-I-N.
You know why? And then we need to
Yes,
get to sports.
I
but
do.
in World War II, it was Berlin, and it was New Berlin, which are towns in Wisconsin. But during World War II, they changed the pronunciation to sound less German.
Yes. They're now Berlin.
They're now Berlin.
And
when you go away to different places, you learn how you speak different. Speaking of being away and yet being at home, did you see what Geno Smith said?
Yes, I did, actually.
Geno Smith, talking after the game, said he felt like it was an away game at times in Seattle with the 12th man, which is not supposed to happen.
Well, it also happened in Green Bay last year when the Lions came to town.
And when I was at the Vikings game, a lot more Vikings fans there than you like to see for a home division game.
And it tends to happen in Wisconsin for the Packers game. There's a green package and a gold package because the Packers used to play in Milwaukee half their season. The green package is the Milwaukee package, I believe.
The gold
package. Okay.
The Milwaukee.
So in the gold, all the Packer fans from Green Bay accuse the Milwaukee fans of selling off their tickets.
Which is true.
This game is going to be a Lions game. But let me ask you this, and I would ask Geno Smith this. If you can get $1,000, $1,500 a ticket, what would you do?
Well, and here's the thing, and this, by the way, isn't just Seattle. This isn't just Green Bay.
No, it's everywhere.
Tampa Bay's complaining about this. Dallas has been complaining about this. New York teams have been complaining about this, winning or losing, and you hit the nail on the head. When you have a team coming this way, like Seattle with Buffalo, right? There's Buffalo fans that live in Seattle, and this is a one-time chance to go and see the team that you cheer for. They're not coming to Seattle. Buffalo's a long way away. For away game, for fans in Buffalo traveling to Seattle, listen, they may have family or something over there. Perfect excuse to go and visit family and then go to a game on top of it. And so you'll pay it. It's a Christmas present. It's a birthday present, whatever it may be. For Seattle fans, you can see it all the time. And tickets for NFL games have gotten so expensive.
Especially in places like Dallas.
Well, and on the secondhand market, the biggest issue, and you saw this with the Taylor Swift concerts and other concerts, is you have StubHub, you have Ticketmaster. They're all in charge of these ticket sales now. There's no face value ticket sales. They're all secondary market because the face value are bought out by these ticket places.
And you know what I have to say to the Geno Smiths of the world and to the Packer players of the world? If you don't want fans to sell their tickets to pay for their entire season ticket package, you cough up the money and give it to the fans.
The problem is they're going to take it and then sell the tickets anyway. I mean, that's what would happen. Might as well double dip.
Not as... I guess I never thought about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, they might
double dip. But they're going to sell the tickets anyway.
I can't blame. Like last year for the Lions game, some people paid as much as $7,500 to get into Lambeau. Now Lambeau's a destination place to go.
It is
because it's the greatest stadium in all of football.
Seattle has become a destination place to go because of how loud it is.
Right.
People want to go there and hear it. Unfortunately, it's loud for the wrong teams.
Kansas City's the same place.
Dallas,
all these old
New York.
But Lambeau's unique.
Lambeau is unique. Lambeau is the biggest destination of all of them in the NFL. It's very unique. Cornfields, cows.
And if I could get $7,500 per ticket,
correct,
they're gone.
Right. And that's the issue you're starting to see. And you mentioned the Milwaukee ticket. Well, a lot of the people that own the Milwaukee package live not in Green Bay. And so that's can be a hike, and then it takes late to get home. And it's expensive to go to games. Not only are you paying a lot for the ticket, but now you're getting food while you're there. Beer, if you're a drinker, is $8 a can now.
Yeah, but you tailgate before you go in. That's a must in Green Bay.
And then you get drunk and think you want another one, and you pay the prices anyway. It's an expensive day to go to these stadiums. And it's to the point where I don't know if the NFL actually wants fans going to games anymore. They've made it so easy to watch on TV.
Correct. And you see more, obviously, except when we're watching whatever game. Was it the Packer game? It was an early game. It was in Jack's last week.
Yeah.
And
it was an interception.
We couldn't tell if the guy's foot was inbounds or outbounds because they didn't have that
camera angle.
Camera right there.
It's not a big-time game. Who cares?
We did.
Well, sure, the fans do, but
so,
the NFL's proven they don't care about fans.
Speaking of games that may or may not be important, did you watch the Colts game last weekend? Anthony Richardson takes himself out of the game and says, I just ran a long way. I was tired.
Yeah, he expected a laugh on that one and did not get what he was looking for.
He's been called out. All the former players are on there going, dude, if you're going to take yourself out, you tweaked an ankle. You had a rib ache.
Call a timeout if you're tired.
Do whatever.
I've seen quarterbacks do that. Listen, I didn't get the play. I had to call a timeout. Or even say, I was tired. I had to call a timeout. I wasn't missing that play. I needed to catch my breath.
You don't take yourself out of the game.
He has, because of that, been benched by the Indianapolis Colts for Joe Flacco. I mean, here's the thing. If you look at that play, I get being tired, and I don't know the plays that were before that. It wasn't that big of a scramble. He took a shot in the leg.
It was 40 yards.
40 yards.
I thought it was 40-yard run or something.
No, he literally scrambled out of the pocket and was tackled at the line of scrimmage.
Well, then what? Even more so.
Third down play. Division rival. End of the game.
Not acceptable.
He's tapping out of the game because he's tired. The only player that can tap out of a game, in my opinion, because they're tired, is a running back after a big run. If you sprint down the field 40 yards as a running back, tap out, or get a breath. You see it all the time.
I'll give it to a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman who picks up the ball and has to run down the field.
Sure.
Come on out of the game for it.
Right. I need to catch my breath, give me some oxygen. As a quarterback, you don't have that option. You are the leader of that team. It doesn't matter how tired you are. Like I said, call a timeout. Call a timeout to catch your breath, but you can't take yourself out of a game. It may have cost him his career because this is a kid I was very excited about.
All the talent
in the world. I'm going to quote you, $1 million arm, 10-cent head. He has a worse passer percentage than Tim Tebow, than Jamarcus Russell, than J.P. Lossman. I mean, he is not playing well, and on top of that, he is taking himself out of the game, and it makes me sad because at times he looks like a superstar.
Well, and when you're not only taking him out of the game, you're saying we're better off with a 40-year-old quarterback
than a guy who taps out.
Yeah. But he should be their franchise quarterback, but he's not putting in the work, clearly. He's not putting in the timing with the wide receivers.
I don't know what work he's putting in, but it's clearly a kid that's always been the star of his team, and no matter what he does, he's going to get put back in the game because he's their best option, and you're not the best option always in the NFL.
What happens when you get to the NFL? Everybody's was the star of their team.
High school and college.
And this is not – Anthony Richardson is not Jamarcus Russell, which I've heard comparisons to. It's not that case at all.
No, I think he actually watches film.
I think he watches film. I think he works hard, but he's got to get himself in better shape, clearly.
I'm sure he's tired. Everybody in the NFL is tired. I don't think it's a better shape thing. I think it's a guy that forgot what he's doing and how much he's getting paid to do it. I think he forgot, I'm in the NFL. I can't do this. Because don't forget, he came from Florida, which was very much a two-quarterback system.
But he had not played that much.
I agree.
It was a stretch. Everybody said it was a stretch to draft him.
He's a one-year starter in more of a two-quarterback type of system where you did tap out like that. The other quarterback comes in, you go back in. He's not used to playing all this.
Not Florida. Not college anymore.
Yeah. You're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Like it's time to play big boy football. Clearly he's not ready for it. I'm hoping this is a big learning lesson for him and he comes out stronger from this. I really, really do. He's got all the talent in the world to be a superstar at this level.
Well, and he's got a good mentor in Flacco.
He does.
Notice I called him Flacco and not Falco.
Well, and talk about being tired. Like, look what Flacco did coming off the couch last year.
Comeback player of the year. Let's talk about another quarterback who is maybe in the process of having his career ruined. Caleb Williams. The Bears are doing it again.
I don't know if this one's the Bears' fault necessarily.
The Bears, come on. The coaching on that whole thing.
On the last play.
Not only that, but handing it off to a backup offensive lineman when you've got good running backs or you've got Caleb Williams to get a yard.
Did you hear the Spanish announcers call at the end of that game?
No, I did not.
It was the greatest thing on the face of the earth. Just yelling, you know how they yell goal?
Yeah.
That's what he did for touchdown. And then at the end goes, Buenas noches, Chicago.
Oh, that's awesome.
And if I could have gotten it made in time, I would be wearing a shirt with the guy in the back of the end zone catching the touchdown with Buenas noches, Chicago written on top.
That would be awesome.
I'm looking for that T-shirt. If you are a T-shirt maker, send us an email. I will buy that shirt from you.
Jayden Williams,
greatest call ever,
with a broken rib.
Threw the ball 70 yards down the field.
And played a good game.
Played a good game.
He was consistent. He's still learning. Nobody's doubting that.
Caleb Williams did drive them down the field and scored. Let's not forget that. But he played like dog shit the rest of that game.
Yeah, he was not there. And again, I go back to you've got to have a good coach when you get one of these unbelievable kids coming in. And Caleb Williams, by all right, number one pick, had all the talent in the world. But when you put him with a guy like Eberflus, he's not giving him the coaching he needs.
Oh, by the way, Caleb Williams before the game sent rubber ducks to Jayden Daniels for possibly missing the game due to injury, saying he was ducking out of the game.
Because he had a broken rib. How did that work out for him?
If you're going to do that type of bullshit, you better show up and have the game of your life. But instead, you send rubber ducks saying Jayden Daniels is ducking out of the game, and then you throw for 85 yards in 3 quarters and really only show up with 2 minutes left. And granted, lost that game on a Hail Mary, but you should have blown the roof off that place, and you didn't. This is no different than when he showed up with FU Utah and then didn't play. This is the Caleb Williams I saw in college. This is why during our live draft show, I called him out for this nonsense and said this was a terrible pick. This isn't Chicago ruining another quarterback. This is Caleb Williams being the player and the type of arrogant person that we've seen.
Okay, but putting him with bad coaching on top of it?
I don't know if it's bad coaching.
Oh, my God.
The defense is one of the top defenses in the league. The problem is you have a corner, number 29, who decides while the play is going on to taunt fans.
Wait a minute. What is that?
The play.
Yes. And what does that come back to? Bad coaching.
They didn't have a play. They had a linebacker spying Caleb Williams on a Hail. What do you care if Caleb Williams runs, blitz the guy, or get him back defending? Why didn't they have a guy in the back? I've never seen somebody not have. Well, let me put it this way. Anytime I've seen a defense not have a guy in the back, this happens.
Right. And let's face it, I heard Matt Hasselbeck talking about this, and he said, you work on that every Saturday or every last practice of your week to get ready, and you just work on, if there's a Hail Mary, this is what you do. And guess what they didn't do? They didn't work on it, and it backfired, and you had a cocky guy.
Guy who tipped it up.
I'm glad the Redskins won.
I am too. That was one of the most exciting plays I've ever. He was back there like 12 seconds running around and then made an unbelievable throw again with a broken rib. Bears fans are starting to turn on this Chicago team.
Oh, yeah.
In a hurry.
Eberflus is done.
Unless he starts to turn it around. Here's the issue with Chicago, right? And this is what I've been waiting to see. The beginning of their schedule, they won the games they were supposed to win. The Bears won the games they were supposed to win. They haven't played a division game yet.
I was going to say, they've got Minnesota, they've got Detroit, and they've got Green Bay.
Twice
each.
6 of their last 8 games are division rivals.
And the 3 I mentioned, I mean, the Vikings have lost a couple, which we knew would happen. But those 3 are going to be fighting not only for a playoff berth, but they're still in the fight for the division lead.
Yeah.
which we'll talk about in a minute.
This is where you're going to see the Bears turn into the Bears. This is where you're going to see the Bears start to fall off. They've overperformed. There was no doubt about that. And now we're starting to see the Caleb Williams I was wondering if we would see. This is the kid sending ducks to an opposing quarterback. Funny joke. But if you're going to do that type of nonsense, you better show up on Sunday. And he didn't.
By the way, it's not a funny joke. And the coach should have called him out, benched him for part of the game, fined his ass, done something.
Correct.
But let's talk about other surprises that we've seen so far in the NFL. Here's my first one on the list.
How much the refs are favoring the Chiefs?
That's not on my list. This is my first one. Why are the Jets so bad?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Aaron Rodgers is hurt.
He's hurt. He's old. He's got short timer syndrome because he can see retirement coming.
I don't understand still why they fired Saleh. It makes no sense to me. Because you fire your coach that's known for his defense, right? And say that's the problem. And then you promote the defensive coordinator. Ever since Saleh has left, their defense is one of the worst in the leagues. It was one of the best, most disciplined units in the NFL, keeping them in games. And now Saleh's gone, and you don't have that anymore.
Saleh will be a head coach again. But the other problem is you've got Rodgers calling the game on the field again, not listening to anybody. And
well, Nathaniel Hackett was a stupid hire to begin with. He's one of the worst coaches in the NFL and is proving it time and time again. Not a good head coach, not a good offensive coordinator. Nathaniel Hackett never called plays in Green Bay. Not once. And now all of a sudden he was calling plays in Denver, garbage. Calling plays in New York, garbage. As good as Aaron Rodgers is, he's not somebody who can go out and call his own plays. And
but
he's proving it. He
and
can audible out of plays.
Sure.
I want to see what happens now that Reddick is back, and I want to see what happens once Davante Adams gets more comfortable in the system. I think you're going to see more of that.
Wait a minute. Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers should have been an automatic.
It's not. You got to get comfortable in the situation you're in, but you are 2-6 now. This is not a good situation. Davante Adams, I think, wishes he, again, would have just stayed in Green Bay.
Yes.
But he's back to his Hall of Fame quarterback, but I don't know how much Aaron Rodgers wants it anymore.
I don't know how much.
But I will tell you where he's playing next year.
With the Jets.
Minnesota.
No.
Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy sits one more year. Sam Darnold goes off, gets a big contract someplace else.
It will not be there because if he left New York and left Davante Adams there, Adams will kill him.
Which is fair. I mean, this is a wash of a season. Maybe you'll see him come back and play better next year. This is one of the biggest travesties I've ever seen in sports history. I mean, they had every right to be great. I just don't think Aaron Rodgers is healthy.
I think the Achilles has taken a huge toll on him. Let's go to our next team, my big surprise. And it's a positive surprise. Russell Wilson looks like he's going through a rebirth.
Yes.
He's playing very well. He's playing like the Russell Wilson we saw early in his career against Seattle when he was in Seattle.
Yes. He's looking great. The receivers are playing really well for him. George Pickens is picking balls out of nowhere. You see what I did there?
That's
picking
cute.
balls out of nowhere. Thanks. He is looking absolutely outstanding. Justin Fields was good. Russell Wilson is playing like a Hall of Fame quarterback.
This shows what happens when you have a Hall of Fame coach who makes a tough call and tells
Tomlin's a Hall of Famer already?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
First ballot, not even a question. They went back to back to back Hall of Fame coaches. And Tomlin will make the tough call. While he's a defensive coach, he's got a good offense understanding.
He's not an offensive coach. He's not a defensive coach. He's a head coach. Period.
Yeah, he's a defensive-minded
guy, but he's just a head coach.
He is, and he's brilliant at it.
He has a defensive coordinator that handles defense. He has an offense coordinator that handles offense.
He's a CEO.
He's just a coach.
He's a CEO.
Right. Same with Bill Belichick. That's a coach right there. Matt LaFleur
is a coach.
He's becoming a coach.
I was going to
say still a play caller.
He's a play caller, but what he has done
he's become a coach.
It's the next one on my list. The Packers continue to win even with Jordan Lund going down, getting hurt again. And okay, here's my question.
Yeah.
Watch that game. When Malik Willis came in, it was a different offense.
Yes.
Why are the Packers now running that offense with Jordan Love?
That I don't know. but it is a credit to a coach who I have rightfully blasted since we've had this show for not being able to adjust in the second half.
So have I.
And he adjusted his offense to the personnel he had, and that is why they won that game.
And
that is Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur is a coach all of a sudden, and I am very impressed. He can win Coach of the Year this year.
But my question is still, when Jordan Love is in there, it looks like they're running a different offense.
They are.
Jacobs wasn't getting the yardage he did when Malik Willis went in.
I think what I believe is happening is Jacobs was tapped on the shoulder every time Malik Willis comes in and says, you need to win us this game. And he steps up to that occasion. I think when Jordan Love is in, you need to step up to Josh Jacobs and say, you're responsible for us winning this game.
Mm-hmm.
He thrives on it. Absolutely thrives on it.
Give credit to Malik Willis for making an outstanding throw when it absolutely needed it to Jayden Reed on Sunday.
He was a player. That was always the thing with Malik Willis. If you remember, he was projected to possibly be a number 2 overall pick at one point by the Detroit Lions. He came from a small school. He came from Liberty. He was not NFL ready. And you have a quarterback that got to sit. And now he's used to the speed, and you're seeing his talent.
And on top of that, you know what else he has in Green Bay?
A great situation.
Tom Clements.
Well, there is also Tom Clements, the assistant that should be a Hall of Famer.
The Hall of Fame quarterback guru.
Responsible for what will be 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Because Malik Willis, in Green Bay is Hall of Famer as long as he's there.
Squeeze me?
I don't know. I'm stretching now.
No.
I'm
Jordan Love still is a possibility, but we're years away.
Malik Willis is undefeated as a starter.
Let me ask you this. Jordan Love had a groin injury. It's day-to-day. Wasn't a severe tear or anything.
Jordan Love needs to play on Sunday.
I think you sit him.
This is for the division lead.
I think you sit him.
This gives you a chance to go into Thanksgiving with a division lead.
I think you sit him because you've got a bye right after this. Let Love heal.
Let Love heal during the bye week.
Yes, but
this is the NFL. You don't get to tap out in the NFL. He's
not tapping out, but there are sometimes you've got to protect your guy from himself.
Here's the thing. If he wakes up on Sunday and can't move, then you go with Willis. Because there's no point to have him in there. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers in the back. This Aaron Rodgers.
I don't want to see.
He can't move.
Well, and I don't want to see Jordan Love jumping to make a throw and coming down and then hobbling the rest of the game like he did.
Right.
So
it's a pulled muscle. If he can go on Sunday, if he is moving well and can be the Jordan Love we've seen him be, then let him go. If not, you go with Willis, and you know what? You're going to see the Lions at least one more time, probably 2.
And we will start the official GoFundMe for the Coin for the Groin Club for Jordan Love.
The what?
The Coin for the Groin Club. We always used to have that. If you playing baseball, if you had a pulled groin, there's a little jug you'd toss change into, and that was the Coin for the Groin Club. And we'd use that for a party later on.
Hey, that is weirdly awesome. I'm a big fan of that one. That is... I like that. Coin for the Groin Club.
All right. The next one, I think we're seeing reality set in. Sam Darnold and the Vikings. They've lost 2 in a row.
They're going to bounce back. Sam Darnold's still playing really good.
He's played okay the last couple of games.
He has. It is a snap to reality. This Vikings team is not a Super Bowl contending team. They're not an undefeated team. You're going to start seeing them going against division gauntlets now. I mean, they're going to beat the Bears twice.
They've beaten the Packers once. They're getting hurt all of a sudden. It's getting later in the season. People are starting to get tape on Sam Darnold. They're not a Super Bowl team, but they still can make the playoffs. They're still a good team in the NFL. They're a top 15 team in the NFL. I think they start to fall off.
Well, they are falling off.
I think they end up not making the playoffs.
I think they're going to make the playoffs.
I don't.
What's their schedule coming up? Let's look at this.
All right, while you're looking that up, I'm going to take credit for another one. The 49ers have definitely taken a step back this year, which I called out before the season started.
Yeah.
They do not look like the team last year. They've got a lot of injuries.
They do.
And
you have a lot of injuries. You have players you really didn't get to play with because they're in contract disputes.
You got a lot of guys coming up for big contracts, including Brock Purdy. Are you going to pay him or not?
You better. Brock Purdy is the only reason you're winning games.
Or do you draft someone?
Brock Purdy is the only reason you are winning games. I'm tired of this Brock Purdy isn't good enough crap. Did you see him against the Cowboys? He looked unbelievable.
It was against the Cowboys.
It was against the Cowboys, but either way, he is getting out of that pocket. He's making quick decisions. His throws are accurate and on point.
His biggest weapon is between his ears.
Yeah.
He's an incredibly smart kid.
He is, and he's very athletic. He's smart. He's athletic.
He's up there.
He's a quarterback.
He's up there intelligence-wise with the Mahomes, the Jacksons, the Loves.
Yes, he has a great surrounding cast and a
Matt
great
Stafford.
coach. But it's like not giving Joe Montana credit for having Jerry Rice, Dwight Clark, and Bill Walsh as his coach.
By the way,
this is the same situation.
Speaking of Joe Montana, and I'm going down a Frenchy trail, squirrel path for a second, saw a short where they were talking to him about when Steve Young was behind him. Joe's still bitter about that. He was like, yeah, we had a team that was going for the Super Bowl. Why am I going out of the game for this guy? He's still not happy about the whole situation.
Yeah, they're still not friends.
No. They do not send Christmas cards to each other at all.
No.
And Montana's right, by the way.
Montana should have had another Super Bowl.
Yes.
He should have had his 5th Super Bowl with the 49ers, and they decided to give it to Steve Young.
Yeah. And is he bitter?
Very much so.
Hell yeah.
Because the year that Steve Young won the Super Bowl with the 49ers is the year he went to the AFC Championship with the Chiefs.
And he wanted to play in that Super Bowl real bad.
It was a close game.
It was close.
It was almost Steve Young and Joe Montana.
Guarantee you, Montana wins that game. He would not allow the 49ers to lose.
That monkey still would have been on Steve Young's back.
To the end of
100%.
time. But
I'm being dead serious, though. This is like looking at Joe Montana and saying, well, he had Roger Craig, he had Dwight Clark, he had Jerry Rice, and he had Bill Walsh as his coach. So he's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, you're doing the same thing to Brock Purdy. Granted, Brock Purdy hasn't won the Super Bowls yet.
He's making me a believer. He played incredibly well and did win the game against the Cowboys.
The record you have is because of Brock Purdy.
He makes those plays that you don't think he's going to make.
Right.
And then does. And he really just, you want to grab him and go, you shouldn't be doing this.
He's a really good quarterback. Back to the Vikings real quick. They have the Colts next week against Joe Flacco. That's going to be an interesting game. They should win that one. Jacksonville Jaguars is the week after that. Then the Tennessee Titans.
Okay,
then the Bears. Then the Cardinals. Then the Falcons. Then the Bears. Then the Seahawks. I mean, they're going to go to the playoffs. They got a really weak schedule.
No. They've got the next 3 they should win, which will take them to 8 wins. They could then go on to lose 4 or 5 in a row.
They're going to win the next 4. Colts, Jaguars, Titans, Bears.
It's on our list. So we'll talk about that in just a second.
And then the Cardinals. And then all of a sudden you have Falcons, then Bears again.
They're going to lose to the Cardinals.
There's 4 losses, maybe 5 losses left on their schedule. This is a playoff team. They're going to beat these teams.
See.
They'll be out in the first round of the playoffs.
All right, let's talk a little bit baseball.
All right, baseball.
I'm making a hard segue this time. We talked at length about where Tampa's going to play next year.
Salt Lake City.
And thank you for the comments. Some of them were rude, but we'll read them anyways. I think
all the rude ones were again directed at me, so you're good.
I got it, but Tampa is not playing in Florida. They should not play in Florida.
No, there's no other indoor stadium.
Rob Manfred came out and said you've got till Christmas, which makes sense because there's a lot of work that's got to go into figuring out travel and everything. Said you got till Christmas to decide where you're playing next year.
Because we know you're not in Florida.
They're not playing at the Trop, that's for sure.
They'll never play at the Trop again.
No, that thing is going to be condemned and torn down. My suggestion is 1 to 2. Either the Superdome in New Orleans, if they can work out the conflicts, or go to Salt Lake City.
Yep.
It's the only 2 that make sense.
Correct.
There's no place in Florida you can play because it's outdoor in Florida in the summertime.
Correct.
You don't do that.
No. Salt Lake City's the answer. It has to be the answer.
New Orleans is
all last week.
New Orleans is also a viable answer.
It is. But are you going to, here's my question to you when it comes to New Orleans. Do you really have interest in putting a baseball team in New Orleans?
No, if I'm going, the problem is though, does the Tampa ownership have a desire to sell their ownership in case things look great in Salt Lake City?
To go to Salt Lake City. just because the owner of the Jazz and now the Utah hockey team,
The
the Yeti, not officially yet,
Yeti.
but it will be the Yeti, says they're going to put up the money for a new stadium and they're willing to do it, doesn't mean they're the ones that are going to get the baseball team.
If I'm putting up the money, $3+ billion for a stadium and area,
They said they're willing to do it, but that's not saying that they're the ones that are going to build the stadium. They're just saying, hey, we're willing to build this stadium. That's all that's being said.
they're going to own the team.
They'll have partial ownership in the team, most likely.
Anyways, good luck to the Rays. I mean, they have a great franchise. It's a good management organization.
Yeah, they've been winning.
They put a good team on the field. They're just playing in the biggest dump other than Oakland Coliseum.
It's the only issue with the Rays is the stadium they play in.
Well, and the fact that there are no fans that watch that.
No.
I mean,
they have very few real fans.
they had to close off the upper deck because nobody goes to the games.
in a World Series.
Yes, and Tampa, by the way, you can tell me I'm lying all you want. I've been there. Nobody goes to those games because there's so much else to do. Plus, it's in St. Petersburg instead of in Tampa.
I bought tickets at the very, very upper part down the third base line. They told me once I got there, I couldn't sit up there because they closed it off and moved me 5 rows back.
Well, that was the thing in Tampa. When you go to the game, you'd buy the cheapest tickets, and you'd go and sit in the front row.
Right. That's what we did.
Ushers didn't care.
That's what we did. I'm like, I'm going to go sit up here. They're like, no, you're not. This is on TV. Go down there.
Yeah, because if he would have sat up there, you would have it would have been like Ferris Bueller's Day when we were at the Cubs game all over again. You would have been on TV all day long.
Yeah.
Well, your doppelganger.
Well, no, it was they wanted it to look like there was more people when they had the cameras
and
down below.
Got to go down below.
Right.
Anyways, all right. The World Series has been drawing huge audiences, 14.5 million.
LA and New York, Ohtani and Judge. And now Freddie Freeman.
And by the way, Judge has done nothing. Freddie Freeman is the MVP of this.
Not know. Mark Pryor was the pitching coach for the Dodgers. Go Dodgers.
Do you think they're going to sweep? I don't. I think they lose.
You're going into New York. I mean, the wind was really taken out of the sails of the Yankees with that grand slam. You intentionally walk Ohtani to get to Freddie Freeman, and he just takes you yard.
He Kirk Gibsoned you.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even a question.
No.
Not even a question. If a man had perfect teeth, that man's name would be Freddie Freeman. My question is who has the bigger fake smile, Rex Ryan or Freddie Freeman?
Rex.
I don't know. Freddie Freeman gives him a run for the money.
Look, Freddie.
He looks like a LA superstar.
He is MVP, and it really was. You're watching that going, I don't believe what I just saw. It was the first walk-off grand slam in World Series history.
Yeah. I mean, it took the win completely out of the Yankees' sails. If you're looking at superstars, LA has a lot more superstars.
And the fact that Ohtani hurt now I'm not sure he'll ever pitch again because he hurt his rotator cuff sliding.
He's not ever pitching again.
That
Not
would
pitching
make me
hand,
sad.
though.
I know, but still, I would be sad. I'm hoping he pitches. I'm still hoping for
It's
that.
not going to happen. I think LA is going to sweep this thing. I think they're going to go into New York. I could see New York. If New York doesn't win Game 3 at home, it's over.
Game
3.
4. Dodgers are up 3-0.
They won that Game 3. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
they're
over.
up there. The Yankees win Game 4, and the Dodgers win in Game 5. It never gets back to LA.
No, it is ending in New York.
Yes.
The Dodgers are winning the World Series. It's going to be a clean sweep. It's done.
So, with that, guess what we're on to? We're on to Week 9 picks guaranteed to be wrong.
Did I have a winning?
Yes, you were 4-2 last week.
That's
well
last
done.
week.
Well done. Ask me what I was.
What were you?
6-0. Year to date, you're 20-21. I'm 29-12, which blows me away. I'm
That's
sorry.
insane.
That's
What did you say? 29-12.
which is ridiculous.
Well done.
No, it's ridiculous. I don't know how I'm doing it. I'm just going with the games.
I mean, we're gonna have to change the name of our segment.
You know what would happen if I put money on these games?
You lose them all.
Lose everyone. Lose everyone.
I mean, we call this segment picks that are guaranteed to go wrong, and you're 29-12.
Yeah, I don't know.
I am picks guaranteed to go wrong. I am below 500 yet again this season. This is impressive.
I got nothing. I mean, it's pulling it out of my behind. I got nothing. So for week,
I think you're secretly doing massive amount of research on these games.
you know me better than that.
That's true. Yeah, you're definitely pulling this out.
Okay.
But hey, it's a win.
First game on this for this week in week 9, we got the Texans at the Jets on Thursday night.
Jets are going to turn this around. Win at home. RELAX, as Rodgers likes to say. The Jets are going to start winning some ball games. It's not over yet. They could sweep and have one hell of a season.
Texans are going to win on Thursday. Dolphins at the Bills.
Tua's back. They lost last week, but, Tua started to...
It's getting to be late fall in Buffalo. Now we are in a
Lightning
warm...
doesn't run on ice, man.
Well, we have had a warm stretch in the upper Midwest, and
We
Buffalo's
have,
the
but-
extension of that.
Buffalo's on fire. Allen's playing like a man possessed right now. The Bills are going to win this game, and I don't even think it's going to be that close.
I got them winning fairly easily as well. Next game up, Tampa Bay. It's the one we talked about earlier. The Colts go to the Vikings.
Who are you picking? I'm just going to start following your picks. You seem to
Go
get
ahead.
it right.
You go ahead.
I want you to pick first because
No, go ahead.
if I just follow you all season,
Colts,
I'm also 29-12.
Colts at the Vikings.
Flacco's in the game, man, and he can do crazy, crazy things. But again, I've said this. We were just talking about this, right? And I think the Vikings are about to go on a winning streak. I think the Vikings win this game.
Flacco's coming in with a pretty good team. Colts are going into Minneapolis
I changed my
and
pick
winning.
to the Colts.
So Colts are going to win.
All right, I also now pick the Colts.
No, you don't. Tampa, and who's Tampa playing? Kansas
City.
It's at Kansas City.
Well, it depends how much the refs get involved.
Oh, stop it.
Because if the refs
Stop it.
do what they've been doing, tell me I'm wrong. I've
You're
proven
wrong.
this.
You're
How
wrong.
many times have I proven this to you?
Stop it.
Time and time again, the BS calls that are going towards the Chiefs are absolutely ridiculous. They're not going to go undefeated the rest of the season. Mahomes is playing like trash. Still has more interceptions than he does touchdowns. Kelsey doesn't even look like he's trying out there. Baker Mayfield is playing at an all-pro level. Although they did get their top 2 wide receivers hurt last week.
Where are you taking?
Let me do my weave. You listen to a presidential candidate weave all day long. Let me do my weave.
Boy, I'm glad I set that down before you said that.
All right, I'll bring the hands in. Maybe then you'll like me better. I'm picking Tampa to win this game.
All right. I'm riding Kansas City until they lose. I'm taking Kansas City.
And I am also taking Kansas City.
Last game, and this one's going to be interesting because we do not know who the Packers quarterback is going to be. Lions go into Lambeau.
I don't pick against the Packers, so you know I'm going with the Packers. I do think the Lions are going to win this game. I refuse to pick against the Packers, so my pick is the Packers. Period.
And I go with picks that the Packers could win this game easily, but I do think the Lions are going to win.
Well, here's the thing. If Love goes, the Packers are going to win this game because they don't have Adrian Hutchinson and their pass rush has not been that great. The Lions have the best run defense in the NFL. And so if you have Malik Willis, where we've really relied on the run game in Green Bay, you're going to have a problem. That you're going to have to really make Willis beat the Lions with his arm. And we haven't seen him really have to do that yet.
Yes, well, we saw him do it last week.
For a drive. One drive.
And he did.
Not a whole game.
Here's my question is whether Jair Alexander kind of pulled up a little limp at the end of the game last week.
He's good to go.
Okay.
He's listed as questionable, but MRI came back negative. He'll be ready to go.
I'm taking the Lions because I just don't think the Packers can pull this one off.
The Detroit Lions offense is playing at an insane level. Their defense is playing great.
Jared Goff is the MVP at this point.
Jared Goff is the MVP of the NFL. He is the best top-rated quarterback in the NFL. This is a dangerous, dangerous team. I'm going with the Packers. I don't feel comfortable with that pick at all.
Okay.
All right, those are our picks. Well, my picks are guaranteed to go wrong. Apparently, this guy decided to be good at this game all of a
Watch
sudden.
me go 0-5 now. I mean, I don't know why I'm This is insane.
I'm enjoying the ride. We're still calling the segment Picks Guaranteed to Go Wrong, but it's only my picks guaranteed to go wrong. We have had a great show. As you all know, you cannot have a conversation with your dad without your father getting the last word, so it is all you.
Watch an interesting short that was filmed a few years ago, but it was very poignant. It was Shaq talking about what happened when his dad watched him play a game, and it didn't look like he was hustling. And his dad called him up and said, "Be over here, 0500." And when Shaq's dad called and said, "Do that," you did that no matter if you were an NBA player or not. And dad asked, "What the heck's going on with you?" And Shaq said, "Well, there's a lot of stress." And his dad just started to drive. And he drove. And he went down to an intersection in the town they were driving in. And they just stopped and they waited. And pretty soon a guy and his wife got out of a tent. And his dad looked at Shaq and said, "That's stress. They don't know where their next meal is coming from." And he looked at Shaq and said, "Get out of the car." And Shaq got out, and he knew what he had to do at that point. He made his calls. He got the family off the street, make sure they had food. And oh, by the way, he hired the guy, the homeless man, was his landscaper for the entire time he was in Orlando until he finally sold it and the guy got another job. But we have to realize that real stress in this world is wondering how you're going to feed your family the next meal. So for those of you who have a nice home and have food on your table, don't forget to give back and help somebody else out, because you never know who that person might end up being. They may have been a doctor that just fell on hard times. It's happened. I've seen it happen. So don't forget to give back, and you too, may you never have to feel what stress like that really feels like.
Good last word.
Thank you.
Thank you, as always, so much for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.